Welcome back to the Wardrobe of Woe, and in today's video we're going to be covering Alarielle the Everqueen. This is probably one of my more favorite models in the whole Age of Sigmar range, and not to factor in the fact that she is the literal goddess of my favorite faction, the Sylvaneth. So this should be a very fun War Scroll overview and tactics analysis. So Alarielle the Everqueen comes in at 740 points. She has a degrading wound chart, and her stat line is 16-inch move to start with, 10 bravery, 16 wounds, 3 up save, 3 casts, and 3 unbinds. She has 2 melee profiles, Talon of the Dwindling, which is a little bit of a weird one, but we'll get to that later. It has 1-inch reach, 4 attacks, 3s to hit, 4s to wound, no rend, 1 damage. And then the Great Antlers of her Majestic Beetle, 1-inch reach, 4 attacks, 3s to hit, 2s to wound, no rend, and a degrading chart of damage that starts at 4, or not 4, excuse me, 5. A missile profile of the Spear of Kurnoth, 24-inch reach, 1 attack, 2s to hit, 2s to wound, 2 rend, and then a degrading chart for damage that starts at 6. For unique magic, she knows all of the lore of the Deepwood spells, or all of the Sylvaneth spells. And her unique magic is Metamorphosis. It has a 16-inch reach, casting value of 7, and what it does is you roll a number of dice equal to the casting roll, and each 3-up is a mortal wound. If it destroys a unit, i.e. takes out all of the models in that unit, you can set up 1 Awakened Wildwood within 12 inches of the last slain model. So think of it as she's physically turning the enemy units into trees, which is pretty cool. For her command abilities, she gives out a rerolling wound rolls of 1 bubble for all Sylvaneth wholly within 14 inches of her. For unique abilities, she can fly. She heals 2d6 in your hero phase, and that's a typo on my end. She heals d3 wounds to every Sylvaneth wholly within 30 inches of her. That'd be really bad if she dealt damage to your units, but no, that's just a typo. She heals D3 wounds. Um, and then she does damage on the charge with her Great Beetle. So for each enemy unit within 1 inch of her after charging, on a 2 to 5, you deal D3 mortal wounds. On a 6, it deals D6 mortal wounds. And here's a really big one. She can retreat and charge or shoot, period. And that is massive. It gives her so much flexibility in terms of her movement and what she can do. That is a recent update to her War Scroll. It came out in Broken Realms Kragnos, and it has really accelerated Alarielle's rise to being actually usable on the tabletop. Now this is the weirdness of the Talons of the Dwindling that I was talking about. So for each wound that is allotted, so it's not saved or warded away, you roll a dice, and then on a 6+, or if you just roll a 6, it slays that target model. But on a 1 to 5, that wound is negated. So the thing with the Talons of the Dwindling, it either straight up kills whatever it's attacking or it does nothing. So kind of odd, but it can be cool if you are targeting a high value thing with it, and you somehow manage to get that 6 off. It's not very likely with no rend, as just kind of as well as you having to hit a 6, but it's a neat little ability. Something else Alarielle has in her roster is once per game in your movement phase, you can summon one of the following units: a unit of 20 Dryads, a unit of 10 Spites, a unit of 10 Tree Revenants, a unit of 3 Kurnoth Hunters, any of the weapon variants, 1 Branch Witch, or 1 Tree Lord. Now the standout units, in my opinion, in this table are the Kurnoth Hunters, the Tree Lord, and probably the Dryads. All of them, except maybe the Branch Witch, has a purpose, and you could easily convince me that one or all of these have a specific purpose that you would want to summon them for. I just named the ones that are my favorite. If you really just need more Dryads to hold the line, there's 20 Dryads right there, boom. Do you really need some more firepower, either ranged or melee? Get some Kurnoth Hunters. Do you want a monster to try and score more points, or do monstrous actions? Get a Tree Lord. Spites and Tree Revenants can definitely have some niche capabilities, especially if you are bringing Drycha for the Spite Revenants. But it's a really nice ability that lets you kind of tailor an additional unit to the game. So Alarielle in her current state is fantastic. She's a great support combat hero. She's extremely flexible and she has a lot of magical capabilities, but it is unreliable because she has no pluses to cast or unbind. So you have a lot of casts and you have a lot of different spells to choose from, but it's not as reliable as, say, Nagash or other high tier casters. She's a great buff centerpiece with her command ability and just her large base. She can broadcast those auras pretty well. And she has a really good melee ability. Additionally, unless your opponent takes her out in one turn, she will most likely return to full health with her 2d6 heal innately, and she can cast or have others cast regrowth on her for another d6 heal. So she's really hard to get rid of if you don't get her killed within one turn. Um, her 16-inch fly that can move, that can retreat and shoot or charge, is really flexible in your choices for combat and um, just movement in general. So you can have her zip around the board to be wherever she needs to be. It's very powerful. Her command point aura stacks very well with other buffs. One of my favorite combos is to include her in a Gnarl Root list. Because she's a wizard, she broadcasts that rerolling ones to hit and the rerolling ones to wound aura just kind of around her. So it really ups the damage capabilities of your Sylvaneth. Um, I will say I don't think she's an auto include, but she's very powerful, and this is probably the best she's been in a long time, if not ever. For the longest time, she was too expensive for what she did, um, but with the recent changes to her and just kind of her general stats and point cost, she's definitely viable if you want to bring her. Um, I personally really enjoy bringing her. It's fun to bring out this really big model that I've spent a lot of time and effort painting, and just kind of have it dominate the battlefield in terms of what decisions I'm making and what decisions your opponent's making. So overall, I think Alarielle is pretty awesome. Well, that'll conclude this video. If you enjoyed, please consider leaving a like or a comment. And if there is another God tier model or other model you'd like me to look over, and please leave it down in the comments below. This has been the Wardrobe of Woe, and I'll talk to you guys next time.